So here we are, the quarterfinals of the Italian nationals. DMArmada, thank you so much for joining me today. Are you excited to see this game?
Oh, dude, I am. I love watching Kano. I could watch so many Kano matches back to back just because it's so fascinating. And it's just like it's always a puzzle. I think that's why I've fallen in love with Wizard in general, is because it always feels like a puzzle to try and figure out how to get there in this current or in this previous meta, I should say.
Yeah, totally. It was very puzzly, and even though the meta is going to change a lot, I think it's still a lot of fun to see Kano being played. Of course, this game for me it's very familiar since I am the one that's playing. But still, every time I see it, I have like the chance to see, oh, I did that wrong or I did that well.
Mm,
That could have been better or not. And this is
yeah.
like with Kano, every time you have so many things to do. So we see I'm playing against Katsu, and he's
Yep.
running Arcane Barrier 2.
Which
And
is huge. Arcane Barrier 2 versus something more like Arcane Barrier 3 or 4 is way different. Starts out with that Kodici, as you can see, pitching what looks like a blue scar for a scar. Or maybe it's just a red scar
I
for a
think it's a
scar. I
red
can't quite tell
scar.
the...
It's
Yeah,
I
I was going to
the
say, that'd be
reflex.
weird if it were blue.
I think it's red. I think that he's well aware of the damage potential of Kano, and he's trying to keep some blues in hand,
Sure,
just to
yeah.
make sure. And
Thinking that it's possibly a blue zero cost so that you can then go Kodachi and then Kodachi without pitching a second card. But here he looks like he just has like a pretty solid little red hand,
yeah,
both of the red scars in hand. So you look content to take it, as I think you probably should,
yeah.
right?
So I was like, yeah, sure, Kodachi, that's fine. And this notch was not the most dangerous things he could have been thrown at me, but he risked to double draw on the
Yeah.
massive momentum and snatch. So I'm thinking about it. I don't remember what I did, but
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where you do actually have to weigh your options because it is turn one. If he gets a double draw into a three-card hand, yes, he could consider a Snapdragon Scalers this early, but that does feel a little bit premature.
yes, indeed. I was, I think, as well lucky to have. I think it's a blue Cindery Foresight. So yeah, I opt one. And
Mm,
I think that anyway, the strategy overall for these games was to try to maximize the damage output, to kill my opponent as fast as possible. Although against those decks that were running Arcane Barrier, I had to be a bit more careful. So it was not so easy to take this decision, because against Briar you just go all in, but against Katsu
sure.
you have to consider that he can block. You know, it's
Well, it
relevant.
is also interesting because he's only playing. This is you can kind of guess or assume that this is more the aggro Katsu line because he is playing red snatches and red scar for scars. As you can see, they're pitched in the pitch zone. So in that respect, plus the fact that you're only playing against Arcane Barrier 2, you can perhaps take the stance of just burn them out very quickly. Is that what your thinking was here in this first turn?
Yes, that's basically. I really didn't want him to draw, but I did. I know that I have to maximize damage and take the chance to you know. I went second because I wanted to take the first turn as a
Yeah.
chance to deal some damage,
I think
but
this is wise double blocking, not allowing a three card hand and then choosing what really goes in the arsenal instead of just being locked into what you had at the end of the first turn going into the arsenal and avoiding a little bit of damage. I think that's wise, even depending on whatever was on the top of the deck.
yes, I think it was. I think I found a blue card, and and I went for, yeah, no, it's not worth the eventual damage I might do. It's not really worth the damage he might do with that hand.
This
So
is
he,
interesting. So you're Kanoing a Reverberate into a Gaze the Ages.
yeah, that was
Wow,
that
that's a
was
lot of
nice.
blues in
Yes,
hand.
that's also a fact
So
with Kano. When you see the first card, especially the first turn, that on top that it's blue, you just maybe leave it there because you're gonna draw it and then you can use it.
exactly. Yep. So you're playing Gaze, I would imagine here
Yes,
in
to
response to
the
the Reverberate, so you
reverberate.
can opt two, and that should come into play into your hand, I believe.
Yes, so gaze will go back into my hand because I have already played a card, and then reverberate will actually resolve menacing not only arcane damage, but it would allow me to actually play another card from my hand. If it deals damage,
Yep.
it would trigger and allow me to play another wizard card from my hand that costs equal or less damage I dealt. So
And Is this the red reverberate that you're playing?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so then it's guaranteed at this point to hit because he's only playing Arcane Barrier 2, which again makes this matchup very interesting for you. You're just like, well, sweet. Just about anything that I do is going to connect. Oh
Yes,
wow.
and that's that's another big one. That's a
Into
red
Aether Flare.
flare. Yes, that's a red flare that will give damage bonus to the next card I play. So if it hits, the next card I play will get +6, where X is the number of damage that is dealt. So this is one of the cards that allow Kano to go exponential, and it's very, very important in this version of the deck because that's one of the key cards that allow you to kill your opponent quite quickly. And
Definitely.
in fact, I don't think that the Katsu player is very happy about it.
Are you still playing this in response to the resolution of Reverberate as well?
I think so. I think that from what
Because
I
it doesn't
saw,
look like he's taking the damage. Oh, it looks like he is pitching, yeah.
yeah. So he gets 2 damage, goes to 38, and then I think after that, Reverberate resolves.
There it goes, yeah.
So,
So now Reverberate here is pushing 5, I believe. Is that correct?
I think that since Aether Flare says the next card you play,
oh, it doesn't affect it. You're right.
It does not get buffed. And the thing is here that every time I watch this, I'm scared that I misplayed, and that actually it's going to deal more damage than it should. But no. Oh, it was a blue. Indeed, it was a blue Reverberate actually. It was not a red one, so it was not that threatening, but it would allow me to play another card that costs 1 or less from hand.
Yeah, and it does look like he's content to allow you to do so with 1 card left in hand and what looks like no resources in play or no resources floating.
Yeah, no, I think he just... Also, the Katsu has a lot of blues and a lot of resources, but in general, he does need the resources in his turn. So I think while it's easy for him to block, the more aggro version, it has it a bit more difficult. And there he comes, the Blazing Eater. That's coming for 5 damage. Yeah, it's going for 5.
I believe so, depending on him taking the damage for that first swing. Should come for something
3 damage,
to the
and
tune
so
of
it's
5.
3 plus 2 from the
Aether Flare, yeah.
Aether Flare, yes. That should be 5 damage.
That's like the ultimate card in hand in that moment because you don't have any resources. It's like that's the one you want to play. You don't want to like a random blue zap or something like that would be horrible. But
yeah, that's correct. Actually,
blazing.
Also, the blazing, it's a card that usually people use to actually kill your opponent. But in these games, I think you really need to maximize every turn to push through as much damage as you can because you're on a clock. Since you start with
That's a great point.
Life.
Well, and even looking at the composition of your hand there, it was like a middling hand as far as damage output. And so with that middling hand, you were still able to turn it around and use every single card, use every single point to your advantage. And again, when your opponent has Arcane Barrier 2, you have a lot more leeway to play around some things and try to push damage in extra ways that you normally couldn't if they have Arcane Barrier 3 or 4.
Yes, definitely. Seeing people with Arcane Barrier 2 at max, it really helped me to actually get through these nationals. And my opponent goes for a leg tap that I non-block. Basically, the plan of my deck was don't ever block and just be faster. Just block smart. And
sure.
And I think that's what I'm doing. But the problem with Katsu is that he has all the combos that I can actually push through a lot of damage. Not early game.
They really can, yeah.
Mid to late game, it's a horror.
Yeah, you have to be very careful and consistent, don't you?
Yes. But I think also that if I would play against a more controlled version of Katsu, I would be in way more trouble than against the aggro version.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think you have a good matchup playing into aggro Katsu. One, because they do play a little bit less blues in general, or I should say probably a lot less blues compared to the control. But 2, because they have a very specific game plan, and it's to try and outrace whatever they play, right?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And here you see, it's not super clear from the video, but I actually have to explain almost all the cards that I'm playing, because people are not really used to Kano in constructed. And I think that's also something that sometimes people are actually underestimating, the fact that if someone has to play in a tournament against a deck that may be Kano, maybe, I don't know, Levia or whatever, just that people are not used to play against, that's also kind of an edge that you have.
Yeah, most definitely. So you play the Reverberate. I believe he let that go through, it looks like.
Yes, he got the damage, and then I could play the other spindle.
Yeah, Aether Spindle here. Is this most likely the red, I would imagine?
Yes, I don't think I played the blues in this version of the deck.
You love a good Aether Spindle, and especially when it's guaranteed to connect like this, you're just super happy to see it, because you can set up the top of your deck just completely. Oh, it feels so good.
Yes, and also you force your opponent to block, so you get at least one card out of his hand, because you want to, if you're the opponent here, you want to, if you are Katsu here, you want to block that Aether Spindle, because you don't want your Kano player to know what's on the top of the deck. You really, that's the last thing you want to see. Of course it could be worse, because it could be pumped and be for more damage, but that's like the one card that you really have to block. Not the only one, but it's one of the most relevant card for Kano.
It certainly is one of them. So he's coming in from Arsenal with the go again. I would imagine that's the red. Can't quite make it out. Pitching here to pay the cost for, I believe it's Surging Strike.
Might be the yellow one.
Could it?
I'm trying to get very near to the screen. No, it's the red one. It's the red,
just lean in. Lean in.
It's the red one. So yeah, it's menacing 5 damage, if I don't recall wrongly.
Yeah, if it's red, it's pushing for 5, which is a threatening thing, because this is also just straight up guaranteed go again. He's got 2 cards in hand. This could be a very threatening turn. Now, he did pitch Mugenshi Release, which leads you to believe that he doesn't necessarily have anything connected to that combo line, or he's just going to go search things out, which is kind of a weird scenario, because you could like natural combo it if this connected, but maybe the hand composition doesn't work. So you do end up blocking through here, it looks like.
Yeah, but I think at Mugenshi, he is the 3rd piece of the combo, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's...
So he's just content to play a Command and Conquer. Now, there's no arsenal for you, so you're comfortable here just like looking at this as 6 damage. It's just vanilla 6.
Yes, that's why I was like, yeah. That I was way more worried about that 5, because Surging Strike is one of the cards that are like the beginning of the end when you play against Katsu. Katsu, from that card, can go through the complete combo of throwing extra card, searching card with Mugenshi, and then going Lord of Wind. That can be absolutely devastating. One time I took like 34 damage in 1 turn against that combo. So I'm aware of how scary that is. And Command and Conquer, it's 6 damage, is true. I was not happy to take 6, but way happier than to see the next piece of the combo.
Yeah.
You know?
Because if he goes natural whelming, and then one of those 2 things hits, either surging or whelming, so he can go and search up the other Mugenshi Release, then he's just comfortable jamming all of those down your throat. Super uncomfortable for you. Man, you just keep landing these gazes.
I think it's still it's the 3rd one I draw. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this is number 3. You've hit all of them in these top couple of turns. This is really solid. That's exactly what you want to see. And then in response, you after you Kano'd it, in response you're playing it so that you can get it to resolve into your hand, which is great.
Yes. Yeah. And also with Sonic Boom, it's a huge deal, because it comes back to me, and then I can actually fix the top deck.
Mm-hmm. And you already used it to opt too. Oh, and you just come in with a blazing.
So yeah, and there is the activation of Sonic Boom. So in this case, I don't know what's on the top of the deck, because I think I opted down. But I saw the blazing and I put it up, because I think it was a blue card and the blazing. So I want to Kano the blazing to play it after the Sonic Boom, and then just hope that the Sonic Boom will hit something good there. That's another Sonic Boom.
Oh my god. Wow. Sonic Boom into Sonic Boom, make him pitch something else from hand, otherwise it's just going to push a nice chunk of damage for free at the end of this with blazing.
Yeah, and this is like the dream of every Kano player, I would say.
Oh, no, what do you get off the top? It would be so crazy if it was another blazing. That would be insane.
But it's a chain lightning. So here with a blazing national, it would have been like the craziest turn ever.
Well, it's
But
still this is still insane because you chain lightning can play at instant speed if you had more cards, of course. But even just that deals 3 damage.
yeah, so it's three damage plus the, I think he got 5 before. So did he get 5 damage?
He took a big chunk, I'll tell you that. He was started at like 24, I think. And of course, you come in with the blazing at the end of the chain, even though you don't really want to call it a chain.
It's not. It's Kano like never actually opens a chain link. Almost never
No.
opens a chain link. So he got another 6. So it was a total of 6 damage that he got. And then he gained back 3 life. So in this turn, yeah, it was 12 damage, but this sigil actually got him back to 16. And this is the place where Kano wants to be, with the tunic ready and a bit more life than opponent. When with the opponent just having a couple of cards left in hand. This is where
this is an incredibly comfortable position, and from your side of things, I would imagine.
Yes, not really for the Kano player, the Katsu player, I would say. I think that at this point he started being quite worried. And also I think that, I mean, as a Kano player, you used to be very low on life. So any time that you are almost at the same life amount as your opponent in Cloud Constructor, you're just happy.
Yeah, exactly. When you start at such a deficit with 10 life loss as the deficit, and you can whittle that down to equal life, that feeling is like, okay, now I have some control over this game.
Yes.
Before that, you're sitting there just holding on for dear life, just trying to make sure you don't explode on a turn because of, either bad draws or your opponent coming in and you not dealing with it, that sort of stuff.
Totally. And this is coming for actually a big turn. That's another flare, and it's going to be pumped with both the Crucible and the Metacarpus node, coming for 5 damage and menacing a lot more. Because again, if this card hits, it buffs the next one for an amount of damage equal to the damage that goes through.
And he's just gonna let he's gonna pitch 2. Or is he? No, he's pitching blue. So yeah, he stops 2 of it, of course, and that lets, I think, 3 walk through, right?
Yes, it's 3 extra, and here we come with a snapback.
Big old snapback, right? Do you have the resources to node the snapback as well?
I think yeah. I think it's. Oh no, I think it's coming for 6 only, because that was a red zap what I pitched.
Oh yeah. It's interesting, and this is something that I've been thinking a lot about and kind of struggling with. It's like when you choose to use the node, because if you can't use it twice on a turn, sometimes I just feel like there's value loss there. So I feel risk averse or averse to even just using it if I can't use it twice.
Yes.
Unless it's like on a forked lightning. How do you feel about using the node on specific turns? Do you only look to use it on like turns where you can go twice?
Yes, at least. But as you said, also forked lightning, it's the same, right? It's the double damage, and in this case it was the same because I used it on a other flare, so that damage went, like, it was transferred to the next card as well. So in
that's a good point.
Cases where you actually, you want to be sure that you get at least 2 extra damage from that Metacarpus, and eventually you can get way more. But I think that, at this point, I just wanted to push as much damage as I could to just finish it in the next turn, because we are in a life zone where he can actually start being menacing for me. And at this point, I'm not sure if in the next hand I'm gonna have the resource in my hand to play it. I saw the opportunity to do 2 damage with one extra, and I just try to play it as efficiently as possible. But as you say, using it only for 1 damage, it doesn't feel good.
No, it feels really bad, which is funny because, like, even just 1 damage in Kano is different than 1 physical damage that can be dealt so much easier. But yet it feels like you should get more value out of it. And sometimes maybe it is the right call to use it just for the 1. And in the Aether Flare case, I think that's a really good corner case.
Yeah, I think it's you learn by playing more, but you never know actually. So when you play, you're always in doubt because you, of course, you don't know what's going to happen later, and sometimes you do finish the game without even using it, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that turn that I didn't want to use for 1 damage would have been that 1 extra damage that would have been maybe more relevant now. But I think that, as you say, the general rule of thumb is just at least get 2 or more damage out of it, and then you're good to go.
So here, this is that interesting end game Kano spot where you can start looking for a very blue hand and just kill them on your turn, or sorry, on their turn, I should say, by Kanoing off the top of the deck. And so it's like at this point he's threatening what I think it looks to be 4 damage. I can't recall off the top of my head, and it's a little hard for me to tell from here. But in threatening 4 damage, you can almost consider just taking it, even though he does have a resource up for a possible attack react.
Yes, I think that what you want to do here is to really consider what's going to happen, because it's going to draw out of the mask. So you really want to think about it. And yeah, I think that there I had just a very red hand probably, and I just wanted to try to not make him draw and go too big on me. And even if he can push through some damage with Hurricane Technique in this case, which is
actually a very good card for him, which is a very scary card for you to see.
I remember that when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, he does not have an extra resource. That's good, because otherwise it would be a very bad position for me to be in. I think that in this case I was like, no, I cannot kill it, so I just wait, push through some damage in my turn, and then just go for the kill in the next turn. That's
exactly right. Yeah.
But it took me a lot of time and reasoning to do this. And here you see you have
this is exactly the right choice. Keep a Scalding Rain, Crucible Scalding Rain on your turn, deal a 3 damage and put him at 5. Oh, it's so much easier to kill from 5.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's it's totally a different thing. And it's a very different situation when they are at 5 or like 8, 10, 12. You still can kill, but I think you with 5 you're almost guaranteed a kill.
Yeah, you really are. Yep, especially against Arcane Barrier too. Yeah. You have the Storm Striders up. This is almost a no-lose situation unless you just brick on a hand, right?
Yeah, totally. And also, at this point, I knew that. I think that at this point, I really knew that I was very, very near to the goal. So I even blocked the first Codice just in case that he had a Razor Reflex. But what you want to do here is try to push your opponent to use the resource that he has in hand, so that you can have actually space for the kill. So you see, I even use the Tunic to block, because I know that.
I was about to say that. Yep.
So yeah,
super great.
I don't want to. I just want him to use as much hand as possible, just to lure him into my burning trap, basically.
Exactly, because you've done this, you're open to both go tall over the top of an Arcane Barrier 2, which is fairly easy to do, but you're also now open to go wide, where if you send like something for 4 and then something like a snapback after that for 3, he can't as easily just pitch away the hand and stop the damage, because you've taken the cards by forcing him to actually play them out.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually, there you go. And that's what's happening. That was 3 damage coming at me, and he gave +1.
Now's the time to just go, right? Now you're just like, okay, Storm Striders, here we go.
And that's a red steer. That means that the next card will get +3 damage. Yep. And I think it was a red Voltic Bolt that closes this match. I'm not sure.
Well, stir for the +3 into anything else from hand is probably just going to do it at that point anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Look, even if that's what is that? That kills from a yellow reverb, right? No, he's got 1 to pitch, so red reverb there is a guaranteed kill still.
This is how I managed to defeat Katsu. I hope you learned something from the video. I hope it was interesting for you. If you want to learn to play Kano, I will leave a video here. You can go and click. If it's not there yet, you can click the bell, and as soon as it will be published, you'll get a notification. If you want to watch the semifinals, you can head over to DMArmada channel. There is a link down below in the description. It will be uploaded soon, and then you can come back here for the finals.